Call the meeting of the Park Board to order. First item on our agenda is a review of the minutes and approval from our last meeting. Are there any changes, corrections, or omissions that anybody caught?
No, but I had a question about, can I ask a question
Go
about
right
it?
ahead.
Did we get any feedback about how the raise awareness of animals abandoned in St. Croix County went, that event with the balloons? Did we hear anything?
I mean, I didn't hear anything. I know Tom met the guy down there.
Okay.
He met him for the event or to talk about the event?
No, he met him for the event.
So it did happen.
Yes, he met him prior to the event, so as far as we know.
Great. Well, maybe when Tom gets here, he can tell us how it went.
Anything else? If not, the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carried. In our packet that Deb got to us was the agenda. Well, we've got, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Colleen Kennard.
Oh, Colleen is here and has a video prepared that she'd like to show us. And why don't we jump to you first, and that way you don't have to stay here any longer, if that's okay with the group.
Well, we're not going to be able to show it up there.
Yeah,
Would you go to the podium though, please? And that way the camera can pick you up.
Okay.
just tell him what you're here for. And
How you doing, Tom?
Okay, Glenn.
Okay, I'm Colleen Kennard, and I had sent a note to my city or council representative about is there any possibility of having pickleball courts? And so this is why I'm here, and it's mostly just to introduce you to pickleball. I guess my first question is, how many have heard about pickleball? One. Okay.
Well, I've heard about it after reading this.
Okay.
Growing sport.
Well, it's actually the fastest growing sport in the United States right now. And it can be played by everybody from children in schools, in some gym classes they have it, to the senior community. And it's really growing in the senior community, especially down south, but now up here also. It's growing very fast. And we've been playing at the Y. They've set aside some time in the early mornings in the gymnasium. We have one full court, but we've been getting so many people that one court's not enough, and so we're able to set up 2 courts, but they're smaller, they're not full size. And we've had some time outside too, but it's in the skate park that the kids have, and the surface is not very good, and it's really not a real good environment. So, first of all, why don't I just show you, let's see if we can see this. I'll come over, okay? It's been on TV a lot. And let me...
While you're getting ready with that, is it played on what's the typical size of the court?
Well, I got
Okay.
the handout.
Okay.
It can be challenging, though, to find an activity that keeps you coming back day after day. But early show special contributor Taryn Winterbrill is here with the story of a fun sport that is getting people off the couch and outside. Great to have you with us here. Been wondering about how obsessed with this game. It's changed my life. Let me tell you.
Put it by the
It's a sport
microphone?
with a funny name. It's called pickleball. And it's
You wanna
a
put it by the
crazy,
microphone,
sweet
maybe?
combination. Just like me, from the moment you give it a shot, you'll be hooked. Part tennis, part ping pong, and part badminton, pickleball is one of the fastest growing sports in America. It got its unusual name over 40 years ago from a Cocker Spaniel named Pickles, who used to chase down balls hit by the game's inventor. So how many pickleball courts do you have here?
We have 108 courts in the villages.
Here at the Villages in Central Florida, the pickleball capital of the world. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Karen. I'm Coach Mo.
Lifelong tennis coach turned pickleball coach Momo Session
Elbows out in front of you.
has promised to school me on the finer points of a game devotees call addictive.
Good shot.
Like many fanatics, almost all of Mo's days begin and end with 2 hours of pickleball.
I got it. As long as you're playing with 3 people of equal ability, doesn't matter how good you are,
It's on TV
you'll
too.
have a fun time.
Played on a surface 1/3 that of a tennis court and using many of the same rules, this sport is low impact and easier on the joints. One of the main reasons older players are drawn to it. Joanne and Dennis Ash are in their 70s.
Hey, gang.
Do you guys normally play as a team or as opponents?
Either or.
Opponents. Do you kick his butt?
Always.
But pickleball isn't just for old timers. It's sort of a multi-generational game. The whole family can play.
Yes.
After some more instruction from Coach Mo, you guys ready to go down? I was ready for a pickleball throwdown.
Good shot, Ted. We're going against Hudson. Let's get going.
And you could hear as the 15-minute game got going, I was pretty out of breath. Getting plenty of exercise, no doubt.
61.
I love this game. Just give it a try and you'll be hooked on that sweet sport with the sour name.
Taste of victory.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I have some handouts here. Actually, I don't know if you've heard of the senior games, which are national games, and they're going to be played in Minneapolis this next summer.
Wow.
And pickleball is one of the sports.
Are you going to play in it?
No, you have to qualify, and I was going off this summer. First of all, here's a layout of courts, and actually you can put 3 pickleball courts in a tennis court. I mean, that's
Thank you.
And I've got some other handouts here too. There's a USPA Pickleball Association website, it's a national one, and it has on it has all kinds of information, but it has the courts that are all over the United States and all the courts in Wisconsin. River Falls is currently looking at putting in some. Baldwin has some. A lot of the smaller towns are now putting them in. I played over in Woodbury first, or in Bloomington first. But Woodbury has courts, there's a lot of courts. These are my paddles. The first paddles were just wooden paddles, and the paddles at the Y are wooden paddles, but this one is a graphite.
You're going to fancy one. Lightweight one.
Thank you.
You've never heard of this, Pat? It's a great sport. I mean, it's really growing.
This is a inside ball, has bigger holes.
Okay.
How do you like to get spanked with that?
Outside ball.
Pass, thanks.
Oh, the play to the wiffle, okay.
So I take it you were a tennis player and you changed to this? Is that how it evolved for you, or? Yeah, that seems to be the case for most people.
We have a fellow at the Y, he's well into his 80s, that was a tennis player, and can't play tennis anymore, but my son, he plays pickleball.
Good sport.
Great.
So,
I've seen this.
any questions?
Have you ever priced out any, what the cost of a court is?
I don't know. No, I know River Falls has been looking into it, but I think they're at the point of trying to get a contract signed to put it in. They're converting.
The city or the school, have you talked with the schools? Would they consider painting? I mean, could you use a regular tennis court and just paint the pickle court separately, different colors, and then, do it within the size of a tennis court?
You could. The net
Net-
needs to be a little bit lower. than
Oh,
the
that's
regular
another
tennis
thing,
court.
okay.
Yeah.
It's got a different net height then.
Well, it's the same kind of net, but it's a
Different
little
height,
bit
lower,
Yeah,
mhm.
a little bit lower. But as you can see in that diagram, you could put.
Oh, 34 inches versus
put
36
courts
inches.
this way.
But as far as the surface, I mean, you can play it on almost any type of hard surface. It doesn't necessarily have to be a tennis court surface, correct? preferably, but,
Yeah.
2 inches different.
Looks like
Yeah.
that height.
yeah, you're playing a wood court, so, yeah.
But, yeah, we wanna, I do think they have all fancy.
Mhm.
But I haven't gotten into that. I guess my only intent was just to come and introduce it to you and hopefully you consider this in the future
Yeah.
as having a door closed.
Thank you very much for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you. Do we know if this is included in the Hudson School District's FIED classes, or if it's part of what they're doing at the elementary or middle school?
Well, I have an elementary and a middle schooler, and I was asking them about it, and neither one had ever heard of it.
No.
So, maybe at the high school though. I don't have any kids there.
Has the YMCA considered, are they planning to do any courts, either be outside or inside? I know they said you do some temporary ones in the early morning up at the basketball court.
Yeah, you have the gym you can use.
And that's for 1 or 2 courts?
Well, we can set up one, actually, when they redid the surface, they did paint a court on there. So we've got one regular court, regular size, and then they turned it, and they painted 2 smaller courts, which are more difficult to just paint on really small surface the ball and play. But, so they've got it painted on half the gym, and so the nets we just set up. They've got 2 sets of nets, and we just set those up, and we've been taking them outside. But that surface is not too good.
Sure.
So the city of River Falls, you said, is considering or going to construct
They're-
some?
They're building them,
I think they have
they're building
been
them.
investigating.
The city or the school?
I think it's the city, Tom. I have some friends that are really involved in pickleball. They live in the villages in the winter. And that's how I first heard about it. And some of them are like my age and they love playing it. And they're, former tennis players. But the demographics, this is something that would definitely be an asset to our parks.
Yeah.
I think I'm glad you came. I know you're gonna come last month and, I'm a strong advocate. I think this is something we really should look at trying to do. Especially because we've got a project that we might need to improve at Anderson. It's currently tennis court.
That, and we're going through the needs assessment process now anyway, and it
Yep.
would be the perfect time to inject that in and look at it and put it into our capital request then for next year.
Well, I'm sure the people that are playing now would be more than happy to help out in any way, or
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
popular. I mean,
Yeah.
if people start playing,
mhm.
it's easy to pick up.
So
you very much.
So typically, I mean, like a traditional tennis court can pretty easily do 2 to 3 courts, right? Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
So I guess my question would be, the tennis courts at Anderson Park, if that was a way to, put, you have the net going, not use the net as the half and then center line, or then have the 2 separate courts going the opposite direction? And then you'd have to put up nets yourself? How would that work?
Don't know, but I'm sure it could be done.
Leave that one up, or put the other 2 up whenever you wanted to use it that way?
Tom, I guess what I would, again, if the park board can get behind this, if you've
Have
got
separate courts.
well, if you've got contacts at River Falls, I'm pretty sure they're putting them up. You might want to just check what they did.
Yeah, I can check with them and
Yeah.
to
just
see what they're doing.
Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because they're gonna have it dialed in what the dimensions are that we need.
And
So,
we haven't been to White Camp Park, or, we've only been to a few parks for the needs assessment, so.
well, there's no reason you couldn't do this in Prospect too. We've got
Or you could
room
do
up
it in
there.
Burton.
Yeah, I mean,
Wherever.
Yeah.
I know,
well, here's a question I have. Even though Anderson, the tennis courts need to improvements, how much tennis was being played at the height of that park? Very little.
Or more importantly, now, not necessarily more importantly, but
Well,
if we're gonna convert it, would we be putting anybody out?
No.
Or are they literally just sitting there?
So would it be worth putting a survey out, to the people who use that park, whether we, have a Dropbox or something on the city website, say,
I
get
think
us a questionnaire and say, are you using it as a tennis court, or would it be more appropriate to use it as 2 pickleball courts? As long as we're gonna refinish it, maybe we're better off to just change it.
I
Well,
think,
if I understand when she was saying that, in looking at the dimensions on their drawings, right now, a tennis court is 78 feet from length to length, and it's only 20 feet wide for a
Yes.
pickleball court. So with the size of a typical tennis court, you'd get 3 running perpendicular to the way that it is now played on the
Yep.
surface.
Yep.
So it would give us, an opportunity to put the park to further use.
As long as we have that 44 feet to run perpendicular.
Yes, yeah,
As long
yeah.
as it fits.
Fits the other
Fence to
dimension,
fence.
correct,
Right.
correct. Because it's only 36,
Right.
yeah. So
And
it's-
even if it
yeah.
wasn't official, she said that even up at the Y, they've
yeah.
condensed them.
But I think if
But
we're
yeah,
gonna look at resurfacing, how much, what are we talking? You only need another,
Well, if we
3
go-
feet. You only need 3 feet on each end. I mean, you need 6 feet total.
Yeah.
You probably could do that if you're running that. I mean, how much clearance is on the
Yeah,
side of the
my
court right
guess
now?
is
by
it's
the
there.
fence?
Mhm.
It's there.
Well,
But you wouldn't wanna have the back line within, a couple inches of the fence either, but.
you have enough room
Well,
to play.
actually, Tom, this is a little different game than tennis because it's more just,
Arms.
it's almost like a ping pong scenario. I mean,
All right.
you're not jogging back and crashing, it's, a lot of it's, you're within a foot or two of when you're hitting the ball. And that's why it's so popular for seniors, because you're not running around as much, but still you're out getting some exercise and your reflexes, so that would probably work.
I'll call River Falls in the next day or two and see what they're doing, and
Right.
maybe if we do go up to Anderson Park, it'd be nice just to measure the width of the current.
Well, I think,
Court.
the other thing is because of all the issues we've had at Anderson Park over the years, just it would bring a different crowd up there. Because of all the housing that's gone up in there, that
You would-
area has been, more senior housing.
Yeah,
and
you'd have the
and-
neighborhood watch up there
and-
playing
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
for sure.
So.
That'd be very helpful.
Good time
That's who's gonna
to
be up there.
expand and
And they're the ones who'll pick up, the
Amenities.
empty pop can or, piece of paper.
That's a very good idea.
Well, let's
Great.
measure it up when we go up there.
Sure.
And Ron, would you like to kind of work on checking it out and work with Tom on coming back to?
Sure.
With some input,
Yeah,
because you
and-
seem to
and-
have some, and
And again, I mean, I've got some really good friends
Yeah.
that are really into this, and that's kind of how I got exposed.
Mhm.
And in fact, one friend, he has his own court, and his is on, on his driveway, but, I mean, they play all the time, and, they're not the 70s, they're in the 50s, early
Mhm.
50s. So it's something that'll be utilized, I know that.
well, that'd be great.
I wonder if there would be any grants available to help make this happen. When you take a look at if it's geared toward a specific age group, but also physical activity and the different
Wellness.
aspects of it. I wonder if we could check to see if there were any grants that would help make us
Well, do we
move this
have,
forward.
Mhm.
because this is south of 94, do we have the availability to use some funds at Anderson's?
it's possible,
It's possible.
that because you're converting it,
Mhm.
possibly. I mean, we'd have to talk to the finance director and it kind of,
And make sure, but it is not out of the realm of possibility.
yeah.
Or, even White Camp, that might be, a
Mhm.
possibility too.
Yep.
But I think Anderson is what we're dealing with now. We need to do something.
I did
yeah.
briefly talk to
It just
Paul
makes sense.
Yeah,
Anderson.
it
and
does.
he
I
thought
mean,
it was
it's,
a great idea.
yeah, it's a
Well,
great
that's what I was
try.
gonna ask, if, Mr.
Yeah,
Anderson
talk to him.
actually kind of donated
Yep.
a lot of land and was into, he
He was into
specifically wanted the tennis court, so
Yeah.
he would
Yeah.
approve of that?
I did talk to him and he was very interested in it.
He's probably playing pickleball now.
Yeah.
And I know he's, maybe there's some opportunity for funding, other places also, but.
Great.
Well, should we move, we have to officially close the meeting here to reopen up at Anderson. Why don't we do that? Go up there, take a look at the park. That's the next item on our agenda because that's going to be part of our long-range needs assessment. And we can carry on this discussion up there and take a look at it. And I think, you know, it might be the perfect solution to Anderson Park as a first start.
I think it is.
Yeah. So, someone want to move that we close this and
Adjourn.
move up, adjourn, go up there?
You bet. I'm so moved.
Second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to adjourn from here and move up to Anderson Park. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We will do so.